Welcome to part 2 of our BlackRock series. In part 1, we uncovered how BlackRock, a company most people have never heard of, controls more than $10 trillion, more than the economies of China, Japan, and Germany combined. But what if I told you that BlackRock's real power isn't human? Hidden deep inside this financial empire is a supercomputer called Aladdin. Aladdin isn't just software. It's not just a financial tool. It's an artificial intelligence system that tracks, predicts, and controls trillions of dollars in assets across the globe. Right now, Aladdin monitors over $21 trillion in assets. That's almost the entire GDP of the United States. It analyzes millions of financial transactions, stock movements, and economic trends, all in real time. But what makes Aladdin truly terrifying is that it doesn't just track the economy, it predicts the future. Imagine an AI that can detect market crashes before they happen, that can analyze global events, wars, elections, oil shortages, and adjust trillions of dollars instantly. Aladdin does this every second of every day. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Aladdin doesn't just control BlackRock's money. It's also used by banks, insurance companies, pension funds, and even governments. Many of the world's biggest financial institutions rely on BlackRock's AI to make decisions about where to invest, what to buy, and what to sell. Which raises a disturbing question. If Aladdin is controlling the money of governments, corporations, and even banks, does it already control the entire global economy? And if it does, who controls Aladdin? Here's the truth. Aladdin is so advanced that even financial experts don't fully understand how it works. It processes information faster than any human ever could. It learns from patterns. It makes its own decisions. It reacts to the stock market before people even realize what's happening. And that means one AI, owned by one company, has more financial control than any government or central bank. Think about this. When a crisis happens, humans panic. Investors pull out of the market. Banks tighten their lending. But Aladdin doesn't feel fear. It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't sleep. It calculates. It moves money. And it wins. It's no surprise that during the 2008 financial crisis, while governments and banks were struggling to survive, BlackRock came out stronger than ever. Because while humans were reacting to the chaos, Aladdin had already calculated its way through it. And today, Aladdin is growing more powerful every year. BlackRock is constantly upgrading its AI, feeding it more data, giving it more control, and other financial institutions are becoming more dependent on it. So what happens when a single AI system controls more money than entire countries? What happens if one day Aladdin makes a mistake? What if it crashes the stock market? What if it makes a prediction that turns out to be wrong? What if it miscalculates and moves trillions of dollars in the wrong direction? Could one AI system trigger a global economic collapse? The world has placed its trust in a machine. But what happens if that machine fails? Now let's dive into how BlackRock shapes the US and global economy. But before we continue, if you find this story insightful, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thank you. Now let's dive into how BlackRock shapes the US and global economy. Money makes the world go round. It decides who gets rich, who stays poor, which businesses grow, and which collapse. And no company has more control over money than BlackRock. But BlackRock doesn't just invest in companies. It shapes entire economies. Its decisions affect stock markets, housing prices, inflation, and even government policies. It doesn't just follow financial trends, it creates them. In the United States, BlackRock has influence over nearly every major industry. It owns shares in banks, energy companies, tech giants, healthcare, and even media corporations. This means whenever money moves, BlackRock benefits. For example, when BlackRock invests billions into a company, other investors follow. That company's stock price goes up, giving it more power in the market. But the opposite is also true. If BlackRock pulls out, stock prices fall, and businesses struggle to survive. This kind of influence doesn't just affect corporations, it affects entire industries. When BlackRock shifts its investments, entire sectors rise and fall. That's real economic power. But it's not just the stock market. BlackRock also plays a huge role in real estate. It has spent billions of dollars buying homes, apartment buildings, and commercial properties. This means BlackRock isn't just investing in real estate, it's controlling supply and demand. When BlackRock buys houses, prices go up. When prices go up, rent increases. And when rent increases, it becomes harder for people to afford homes. Many experts argue that BlackRock's aggressive real estate buying is one of the reasons housing prices keep rising, making homeownership harder for ordinary people. And it's not just happening in the US. BlackRock has a global reach. It controls investments in Europe, Asia, South America, and Africa. It moves money across borders, currencies, and economies, influencing international trade and financial stability. In fact, some governments depend on BlackRock's money to fund infrastructure projects, pension programs, and social services. This means that in some cases, BlackRock has more influence over a country's economy than its own government does. And here's the most alarming part. BlackRock is almost completely unregulated. Unlike banks, it doesn't need to follow strict financial laws. It doesn't answer to voters. It doesn't get audited like government agencies. It operates in the shadows, making trillion-dollar decisions with no public accountability. So, when BlackRock invests in fossil fuels, energy companies benefit. When it shifts to green energy, oil and gas prices get affected. When it buys stocks, markets rise. When it sells, economies suffer. BlackRock isn't just managing money, it's shaping the world economy. And when one company has that much power, who's really in control? The governments of the world, or the company that funds them? But BlackRock doesn't just influence money, it also influences laws, policies, and even political leaders. So how much control does BlackRock have over governments and policymaking? In a democracy, we're told that governments make the rules, that elected leaders decide policies, that the people's vote shapes the future. But what if the real power wasn't in the hands of politicians? What if, behind the scenes, the real influence came from a company that controls more money than most countries? BlackRock isn't just a financial giant, it's a political powerhouse. It doesn't just shape markets, it shapes laws, policies, and even governments themselves. In the United States, BlackRock has deep connections to the federal government. Many of its former executives now hold key positions in Washington. In fact, multiple officials in the Biden administration previously worked at BlackRock. The most notable example? Brian Dees. He was BlackRock's global head of sustainable investing. Then, in 2021, he became the director of the National Economic Council, one of the most powerful economic positions in the White House. But he's not the only one. Wally Adeyemo, another former BlackRock executive, was appointed as the Deputy Secretary of the U.S. Treasury. This isn't a conspiracy. These are facts. BlackRock executives are moving between Wall Street and Washington, influencing government decisions from the inside. And BlackRock's government ties go even deeper. In 2008, after the financial crash, the U.S. Federal Reserve hired BlackRock to help manage the bailout. It was given control over billions of dollars in taxpayer money to decide which companies survived and which failed. The same thing happened again in 2020 during the COVID-19 crisis. When the U.S. government needed a financial firm to handle emergency stimulus programs, they turned to BlackRock. Again. Think about that. When the government is in financial trouble, it turns to BlackRock. But when BlackRock makes financial decisions, who holds it accountable? And this influence isn't limited to the U.S. BlackRock has connections to leaders all over the world. It advises the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, and financial regulators across Asia and Latin America. When countries want to rebuild their economies, restructure debt, or launch major infrastructure projects, BlackRock is often involved. Sometimes its advice benefits governments, but other times it raises a serious question. Is BlackRock helping, or is it taking control? And it's not just financial policies. BlackRock has the power to push social and environmental policies onto corporations. Through its massive investment funds, it pressures companies to follow certain climate policies, diversity programs, and corporate governance rules. This has led to a controversial debate. Should one company have the power to dictate global policy? Because when BlackRock pulls its investments from an industry, that industry suffers. When it pushes for green energy, oil companies lose billions. When it focuses on sustainable businesses, entire economies shift in response. Its decisions don't just move money, they move governments. So the question is, if BlackRock is this deeply embedded in politics, do the elected leaders truly make decisions? Or does BlackRock make them for them? But this is just the beginning, because BlackRock's influence doesn't stop with companies or governments. It extends to entire industries, shaping the future of technology, media, real estate, and beyond. If you found this deep dive insightful, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And turn on notifications so you never miss an update. This was part 2 of our BlackRock series, and in part 3 we reveal even more about this financial giant. Don't miss it.